Welcome to Inside Ag. I'm Greg Deering. Today I'm joined by Kansas Farm Bureau President Joe Newland and CEO Terry Holdren. Joe, Terry, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Greg. I certainly appreciate the time that we have here today to visit more about Kansas Farm Bureau.
Joe, what are some of the highlights from annual meeting that just concluded here?
The main thing I would say is the ability to meet and visit with our members from across the state. When you're out in the hallway visiting with the members, you get an understanding of not only where they're from, but what their issues are, the support that they give you, the friendships that you reconnect with. That's also important, to this organization, but especially to me as the president.
And I know at the banquet Sunday night, you listed several of the accomplishments of the organization over the past year. Would you like to share some of those with our listeners here today?
Oh, absolutely. First and foremost, I think you'd have to look at how the organization gained members, and it has the last several years. And when you do it across the state, that's wonderful. But you also had 58 counties that made membership gain. And so that's important for the growth of this organization from the grassroots up, and that's what's so important. But then getting policy turned into law in the past legislative session, that's what we do as an organization. We develop policy, and we go to Topeka and D.C. to make sure that policy can get implemented into law so that it does make the lives of our members just a little easier. Then we can showcase the programs that we do here at Farm Bureau, like Shop Kansas Farms, connecting the individuals that desire our farmers and ranchers' products. And that's pretty critical, for the industry right now, that we can serve others across the state. The apprenticeship program that we have to help connect employees with employers, to benefit that employer. When you can move from a laborer into management, it is truly life-changing. And so it's important that we make those connections. And it's just having our communications team right here at Kansas Farm Bureau tell the stories of our members. I think it's truly important that we tell that across our state, but that we can share it with other states as well. So we have so much to be proud of with this organization, and certainly happy that I can stay here and lead this organization.
Well, you mentioned staying here. You of course, were reelected at Monday's business session, so congratulations on that. We're glad to have you for another 2 years. Aside from that important fact, what other discussions happened on Monday during that business session?
Well, as we develop policy, of course, that is the main thing that we're here for, is to make sure that we're doing the work of our organization. And we take that grassroots effort and all from our counties to our districts and then on to the state. And so the Resolutions Committee brings that on to the state annual meeting. The delegates have the opportunity to discuss each of the issues that they've brought forth during the full year of issue surfacing, bringing it to the state, sending it back out, then listening post in the fall. So we have a full year of accumulating these issues and making sure that we totally understand what our members want. And then when they come to the state convention, they can discuss these issues, things that are important to them, like the veterinarian, the vet tech programs. Now, we understand that the veterinarians are a little split on how those things work, but the discussion that was able to be had at this convention was extremely important to move issues like this forward. And so I think that's the largest thing. But yet, we can take policy to the American Farm Bureau as well. When we want to use cover crops and take it to the cash end, but yet still use it for conservation practices. Farmers and ranchers do an extremely good job of conserving our soils, protecting them to the best of their abilities, and we certainly appreciate the opportunity that we get when we have the opportunity to discuss those issues and make sure we can forward that on to the American Farm Bureau as well.
And Terry, turning to you now, I know delegates on Monday also approved a $10 increase in membership dues that will affect every member of Kansas Farm Bureau. When does that take effect, and how will that impact the organization here?
Yeah, so thanks, Greg. Glad to be with you today. So $10 dues increase will go into effect when we start our new membership year. That's October 1st of 2025, and members will begin to see that increase reflected on their membership dues statement. There are a number of ways they receive that, so however that comes to your household. The great news about that for us as an organization is that it signals a belief from our members that we add value to their lives, that we're relevant in their day-to-day farming and ranching opportunities and in their rural communities. But then also, it's an investment in the future of the organization. So the board in its conversation really took a long-term view of what dues revenue does for the organization, how it stabilizes our current financial picture, but also how it lets us look at the future with an eye toward what's the next thing we ought to be doing to benefit our members and rural communities. What are the opportunities to make sure county farm bureaus are resourced appropriately and effectively? How do we look in the long-term view about the policy issues that Joe talked about, but also about the things that the organization can do? We've, over time, as folks know, have worked to address broadband, connectivity across. We haven't got that one quite solved yet, but we're working, right? We've spent time and resources on that issue. We've taken a crack at the high cost of health coverage over time. There are lots of other things. Apprenticeships and labor is another one of those. So what are the other things we can do, we can add to the portfolio or to the list of things that Kansas Farm Bureau is doing that directly relate to making things just a little easier for our members, like Joe indicated.
And annual meeting, as we mentioned, is a large part about celebrating the past year, but then on Monday we get to the business session, and that is really about setting the priorities for the next year. Joe, looking ahead to 2025, what are some of the things coming down the pipeline that Kansas Farm Bureau will be involved with?
I think we've got, for sure, two issues that we're going to look towards working on, and that's taxes and energy. We pushed a lot of issues out there last year to try to work on as far as energy was concerned. The use of eminent domain, online sightings, and then, of course, a reduction in our property tax as well. And we've had policy for many years on protection of property tax and property rights. And so we want to make sure that we push things forward that can help relieve some of the pain of taxes on our members. And those are probably two of the biggest issues we'll be looking at this year.
President Joe Newland of Kansas Farm Bureau. Joe, Terry, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Greg. We always appreciate the opportunity to visit with you and our members.
If you've enjoyed the podcast, please give it a like and share with others. I'm Greg Deering, and this has been Inside Ag from Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture.